For more than 100 years, the galaxy had been at war. The coalition of sentient worlds, a group of many alien species, had been fighting against the Marak Dominion. The Marak were a powerful and aggressive empire. They wanted to control more planets, more resources, and more space. They believed in strength and conquest. The coalition believed in freedom and peace. At first, the coalition thought the war would end quickly. They had many smart leaders and strong ships. But the Marak were clever and fast. Every time the coalition won a battle, the Marak came back with a new attack. The war turned into a long and painful fight. Planets were burned. Cities were lost. Generations of soldiers grew old on the front lines. Some were born during the war and died before it ended. The galaxy forgot what peace looked like. Every species in the coalition had lost something. The Filari lost their homeworld. The Driven lost their sun when a Marak superweapon destroyed it. The Scallons, once a proud warrior race, had almost no fighters left. Even with all their different ships and weapons, the coalition could not win. The war stayed in balance, like two boxers too tired to knock each other down. The battles were always the same. Big fleets met in space. Thousands of ships fired at each other. Then both sides pulled back, damaged and tired. Months later, they would do it again, over and over. Commanders changed, but the strategy stayed the same. They called it the Long War. No one expected help. Everyone believed the war would go on forever. Then something happened. A small ship, not part of the coalition, was seen near the edge of known space. It was old and slow. At first, coalition scouts thought it was a lost transport. But when they checked the signal, they were confused. The language was new. The design of the ship was strange. They had never seen a ship like that before. Inside was a woman named Laura Briggs. She was a captain from Earth, a planet far away, in a part of the galaxy the coalition had never explored. Her ship was called the Venture. She had come to explore space, not join a war. But she had picked up distress signals and followed them. She met the coalition scouts and shared her story. The scouts sent her message back to the main fleet. High Command was curious. They invited her to speak to them. When she arrived at a coalition base, she was surprised. She had never seen so many different species in one place. Some had feathers. Others had metal skin. Some floated in tanks. They all stared at her, wondering what a human was. She told them about Earth, about humans, about their machines, their history, and their love of solving problems. The coalition listened politely. They were tired. They didn't think one small planet could change anything. But they were kind, and they asked if Earth wanted to help. Laura said she would send a message home. Maybe Earth would answer. Maybe not, but she wanted to help. She had seen the destruction. She had heard the sadness in the voices of the soldiers. She could not walk away. So Earth received the message. Leaders met in quiet rooms. They'd watched the videos Laura had sent. They saw the broken planets and burned cities. And then they made a choice. They would help. No one in the galaxy knew what that would mean. Not yet. But soon they would. The Long War was about to meet something new. Humanity. Captain Laura Briggs waited on the station called Haven Point. It was a large space base built by the coalition. From her window, she could see hundreds of ships coming and going. Some were small, others were as big as cities. All of them were made for war. She had been there for 2 weeks. The coalition had sent messages to Earth, telling them about the war, the enemy, and what help they needed. Now, everyone waited for Earth's answer. Some people thought humans would be too afraid. Others said humans were too far behind in technology. But Laura believed in her people. One morning, a signal came through. It was short, clear, and full of energy. Earth had responded. A group of human ships was on the way. They were coming to join the coalition. The officers on the station looked surprised. Some of them smiled. Others looked unsure. They had seen many species join the war, but none had changed the fight. Would humans be any different? When the human fleet arrived, it shocked everyone. The ships were smaller than most coalition ships, but they looked fast. They moved like they were dancing. Their armor was dark, almost invisible against space. They didn't carry heavy guns on the outside like other warships. Instead, they hid their weapons inside, ready to strike. The human commander was a man named Daniel Shaw. He was tall, quiet, and serious. With him was Commander Erica Holt, a woman who worked with machines and systems. She was calm and focused. Together, they met with the coalition leaders in a big hall filled with light and floating screens. General Drenvelok, a strong leader from the Filuri species, showed them maps and battle reports. He spoke about the front lines, the losses, and the strategies the coalition had used for years. He was proud of their bravery but tired from the long war. Daniel and Erica listened carefully. They asked a few questions, took notes, and said very little. After the meeting, they walked together down a quiet hall. "They're fighting the same way they did 100 years ago," Daniel said. "Yes," Erica replied. "Slow, heavy, and always the same. We can do better." They started planning that night. Human ships didn't need large crews. They used smart AI systems that helped them fight faster and smarter. Their weapons were different too. They used railguns that shot metal rounds at high speed. They used stealth systems that made their ships almost invisible. They had jammers that confused enemy ships and sensors that could see through the Marak's tricks. The first mission was small. Laura Briggs led 5 human ships into a quiet sector called the Drelkar Expanse. It was known as a dead zone where many coalition fleets had failed. The Marak had built a strong base there. No one had been able to break it. The human fleet moved in fast and quiet. They didn't use big lights or open channels. They scanned everything, looking for weak spots. Then they hit the base with speed and precision. In less than 2 hours, the Marak base was gone. Not damaged. Gone. The coalition could not believe it. They sent scouts to check. The scouts found only pieces of metal and silence. Laura Briggs returned with her fleet. Not a single ship damage. Daniel Shaw and Erica Holt began sharing new plans. They trained coalition officers in human tactics. Some didn't trust them at first. But when more missions ended in quick wins, they started to listen. Humanity had only just arrived, but things were already changing. The old ways were being replaced by speed, smart choices, and new ideas. The coalition was still trying to understand it. And somewhere deep in space, the Marak began to notice too. The war was no longer the same. Something new had joined the fight. Humanity. The coalition war room was always full of noise. Officers spoke in many languages. Screens showed battles, maps, and enemy movement. Lights blinked on tables and walls. Everyone worked hard, but the war never changed. One day, the war room was quiet. The humans had arrived. General Drenvalok stood at the front of the room. He was tall and strong, with silver skin and deep black eyes. He looked around the room and nodded. "We begin," he said. The lights dimmed, and a large map filled the center screen. It showed the war front. Thousands of stars, red and blue lines, and battle marks. The general pointed to different zones. "We lost Sector 9 2 months ago," he said. "Marak forces are holding strong here, here, and here." Laura Briggs, Daniel Shaw, and Erica Holt stood together near the back. They watched and listened. Beside them were other officers from Earth, all taking notes. Valak showed the usual plan. Large fleets moving slowly, long supply lines, attacks that took weeks to prepare. Every plan looked the same, just more ships, more time, and more loss. Daniel leaned closer to Erica. "They keep repeating failure," he whispered. She nodded. "They don't know another way." After the general finished, he looked at the humans. "Do you have thoughts?" he asked. Laura stepped forward. "Yes, but our way is very different. The room went quiet again. Daniel walked to the center. He pressed a button on his wrist pad. A new map appeared. It was simpler. It showed fewer lines, but more movement. Red arrows showed fast strikes. Circles showed small, focused groups. Timers showed how long each action would take. "We don't need to fight everywhere," Daniel said. "We strike where it matters most. Supply nodes, command ships, communication hubs." Erica stepped beside him. "And we use stealth. Our ships can move without being seen. Our weapons are silent and fast. We don't need big fleets, just smart attacks." Some coalition officers looked confused. Others looked unsure. General Valak crossed his arms. "Your plan sounds risky." "So does losing the same battles for 100 years, Laura said calmly. There was a long pause. Then Valak nodded. "Very well. Show us." The next day, a mixed team was formed. Human officers worked with coalition scouts. They chose a target, a Marak supply post in the Nivan corridor. It was not large, but it was important. Many Marak ships got fuel and parts there. Daniel and Erica planned the strike. They used only 10 ships. 5 were human. 5 were coalition, but updated with human tech. They trained together for 3 days. Quick moves, silent jumps, coordinated fire. The mission began in darkness. The human ships led the way, their engines quiet and cold. They moved through asteroid fields and dust clouds. Marak sensors did not see them. At the exact second, the fleet attacked. Railguns fired. Jammers lit up. Enemy ships lost power. The supply station tried to fight back, but it was too late. In just 30 minutes, the whole base was gone. Not one ship from the strike team was lost. When the team returned, the coalition war room watched the full report. They saw how fast it had happened. They saw how well the teams worked together. General Valak stood in silence for a long time. Then he said, "Do it again." And they did. Again and again. Small, sharp missions, fast wins, no wasted moves. The front lines started to shift. For the first time in years, the Marak lost ground. Other commanders began to ask for help from the humans. Daniel and Erica worked day and night, teaching new tactics. Laura led missions that became stories. The coalition began to change. The war room was still busy, but now it felt different. People had hope. They believed something new was happening, something that could finally end the war. Humanity had not come to play by old rules. They had come to win. The humans called it the turning point. After weeks of fast attacks and small victories, things began to change quickly. The Marak started to lose important bases. Their ships were slower and confused. Their leaders didn't understand how the humans were moving so fast. Captain Laura Briggs led another mission deep into enemy space. This time, her team went after a command station in the Jellern Belt. It was protected by heavy guns and patrol ships. Coalition fleets had tried to take it before, but all had failed. Laura's team used a new plan. They moved in from 3 directions at once, using fake signals to trick the Marak sensors. Inside the command station, the Marak officers saw strange readings. They thought it was just space dust or broken equipment. But by the time they realized it was an attack, it was too late. Human ships dropped out of stealth, fired in perfect order, and vanished again. The battle lasted only 15 minutes. The station exploded, sending fire and metal into space. Daniel Shaw watched the battle from the command center back at Haven Point. He stood with General Valak and other leaders. Everyone stared at the screen. They were quiet. "That was clean," said Valak. "Too clean." Daniel smiled a little. "That's the goal." Erica Holt had been working on something new, a special kind of virus, built for machines. The virus was designed to attack Marak computers, not to shut them down, but to make them confused, turn their own weapons inward, send fake orders to their ships, mix up their targets. She worked with engineers from the coalition to deliver the virus. They tested it first on old Marak tech taken from battle sites. It worked better than they had hoped. Now, they were ready to use it. The next mission used the virus for the first time. Erica sent it into a Marak fleet system through a stealth probe. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then the Marak ships started turning. Some fired at each other. Others flew in circles. One even crashed into a moon. The coalition fleet moved in and took control in minutes. No shots were fired by humans. The virus had done all the work. Word spread fast. Commanders across the coalition began to ask for human tech. They wanted the jammers, the railguns, the stealth drives. But more than that, they wanted to learn. They asked for training, for guides, for help. Daniel and Erica set up a new training center on Haven Point. They called it the Edge. Officers from every species came there to learn. It was busy day and night. Some didn't believe in the new ways at first, but after seeing the results, they changed their minds. The humans taught more than how to fight. They taught how to think differently. Fast, smart, focused. One young Scallan pilot said, "We always tried to fight like rocks. Now we fight like lightning." In the middle of all this, the Marak began to panic. Their leaders sent new orders. They pulled back from some zones. They built bigger defenses, but nothing worked. The humans always found a way through. Captain Briggs returned from another mission. She sat alone in her room for a while. She looked at photos of Earth, forests, oceans, cities. She missed it. But she knew they were doing something important here. She sent a message to her team. "We're not here just to fight. We're here to finish it." The war was no longer endless. Now it had a direction, a purpose. The old way was over. The humans brought something new. Not just weapons, not just speed. They brought solutions, and the galaxy began to see it. The Marak High Command met in a dark chamber deep inside one of their strongest worlds. The walls were made of metal and stone, covered in glowing symbols. The leaders sat in silence, their sharp eyes watching a screen that showed maps filled with red and blue lights. The red lights were Marak forces. The blue lights were the coalition. Every day, more red lights disappeared. One of the leaders hissed, "This should not be happening. We are stronger." Another replied, "We were stronger. Now they are faster, smarter." "They have help," said the third. The humans. The Marak had never feared other species, but now they were afraid. The humans did not fight like anyone else. They did not follow the old rules. They used speed, surprise, and strange machines. The Marak had no answers. Back on Haven Point, Daniel Shaw and Erica Holt studied the next step. They stood before a large table with maps and data. Laura Briggs joined them. "There's one thing left," Daniel said. "The Marak main command fleet." It was the largest force the enemy had. Dozens of capital ships, guarded by fighters and destroyers. It stayed deep behind enemy lines. No one had ever touched it. "If we take it out," Erica said, "the war ends." Laura nodded. "Then let's end it." The humans planned something new. They called it Operation Final Light. It would be the biggest mission they had led. But it wouldn't be big in numbers. Only 12 ships, 6 from Earth, 6 from the Coalition, all upgraded with human tech. The plan was simple but risky. A stealth fleet would move through enemy space without being seen. They would reach the Marak command fleet and strike fast, destroying the leaders and their network. General Valak agreed to the plan. "If this works," he said, "you will change the galaxy." The fleet left at night. No lights, no signals, just shadows in the dark. The trip took 2 days. They moved through dead zones, asteroid fields, and old battle sites. As they got close, Laura sat in her command chair. Her ship, the Nightfall, was leading the group. She looked calm, but her mind was sharp. "Are the systems ready?" she asked. "All green," her officer replied. Weapons, stealth, and jammers are online. Erica's voice came through the channel. Virus is loaded. Targeting their comms first. Daniel added, strike time in 6 minutes. Let's do this. The Marak fleet floated in the dark, unaware. Then the humans attacked. It started with silence. Then lights flashed across the command ships. The virus hit their systems, turning their orders into noise. Some ships stopped moving. Others turned their guns the wrong way. Laura's fleet fired railguns, each shot hitting with perfect aim. One by one, the Marak ships fell. Explosions lit the sky. The enemy tried to fight back, but they couldn't tell where the attacks were coming from. In less than 40 minutes, it was over. The Marak command fleet was gone. Laura sat in silence. She looked at the screen. No enemy signals, just the stars. Daniel's voice came through. We did it. Back at Haven Point, cheers filled the war room. Officers from every species hugged, laughed, and cried. For the first time, they saw an end. General Valok sent a message to the fleet. You have done what no one else could. The war is nearly over. Prepare for peace. Across the galaxy, Marak ships stopped fighting. Some surrendered. Others fled. Their leaders were gone. Their plans were broken. On Earth, people watched the news with wide eyes. They had sent help, and now their sons and daughters had saved millions. Laura looked at her crew. This is why we came, she said. Not just to fight, to finish it. The mission was complete. But one question remained. What comes after the war? The war was ending. The stars were quiet now. No more red lights on the battle maps. No more emergency calls. The Marak fleets were broken. Some had run far into deep space. Others had sent messages of surrender. Captain Laura Briggs walked through Haven Point. People smiled when they saw her. Some saluted. Some just nodded with respect. She smiled back, but her thoughts were heavy. Daniel Shaw and Erica Holt met her at the command center. Daniel was looking at the latest reports. 3 more Marak ships surrendered today, he said. Erica added, no new attacks in the last 5 days. Laura sat down. It's really over. Daniel nodded. It's over. But peace was not easy. Many worlds had lost people. Cities were gone. Families were broken. The coalition needed to rebuild. Ships needed repairs. Roads, homes, and food systems had to be fixed. Some species still feared the humans. They respected their strength, but they didn't understand their ways. We need to help with more than weapons, Laura said. We came to win, but now we need to help them heal. So the humans stayed, but not with guns. They sent engineers, doctors, and builders. They helped rebuild space stations, repair broken ships, and clean ruined cities. Earth sent more people, not soldiers, but helpers. One day, Laura visited a small world once held by the Marak. The people there had lived underground for years. Now they were coming up again. She helped clear rubble from a school. A young child gave her a flower. For you, the child said. Thank you. Laura held the flower gently. She smiled. You're welcome. Erica spent her time building new systems. She shared Earth tech with the coalition. Safer energy, better machines, tools that could grow food faster. She also helped teach young minds. The war is not the end, she said to her students. It's a start. Daniel worked with the leaders. He helped form a new peace council. Not just military leaders, but thinkers, scientists, and people from all parts of the galaxy. We need to talk, not just fight, he told them. Peace is something we must build together. The Marak sent a message. A small group of their leaders wanted to meet. They said they wanted to talk. Some coalition members didn't trust them. It's a trick, one said. But Daniel said, we must try. If they are ready to stop, we must listen. The meeting took place on a neutral space station. The room was quiet. Marak leaders sat across from coalition and human officers. One of the Marak stood. "We did not understand your kind," he said. "You were different. You were fast. You were fierce. But you also showed mercy." Another added, "We lost, but we also learned." Daniel stood. "We didn't come to destroy you. We came to stop the pain. If you are ready for peace, so are we." There was a long silence. Then the Marak leader nodded. "Let there be peace." That day, messages were sent across the stars. The war was over, not just with weapons, but with words. Back on Haven Point, people cheered. Lights flashed across the sky. Music played. Flags waved. For the first time in many years, there was joy. Laura stood with Daniel and Erica, watching the celebration. "We came into this war late," Laura said, "but we made a difference." Erica nodded. "We didn't just fight. We helped." Daniel smiled. "And now we begin something new." The stars were quiet again. But now they were filled with hope. The stars had changed. Where there was once war, now there was peace. But peace needed care. It needed people who would not forget the cost of war. Captain Laura Briggs stood on a new station called Unity Reach. It floated between many worlds. It was built by humans and the Coalition, working side by side. It was not a war station. It was a place for peace, trade, and learning. Laura walked through its wide halls. She saw Scallan engineers fixing systems beside human workers. Children from 3 different species laughed in a classroom. Traders shared stories in the market center. Everyone was welcome here. Daniel Shaw worked in the council room. He helped lead talks between leaders from many worlds. He was not a soldier anymore. Now he was a voice for peace. "We must protect what we've built," he told the council. "Not with weapons, but with trust." Erica Holt had started a new project. She was building a school of science and technology. Young minds from across the galaxy came to learn. She taught them to build, to solve problems, and to think in new ways. "War makes us strong," she said to her class, "but peace makes us wise." One day, a group of Marak scholars came to Unity Reach. They were not warriors. They were students and thinkers. They brought books and old knowledge. They said they wanted to share and learn. Some were still afraid of them. But Laura met with their leader, a quiet Marak named Vex. "Why are you here?" she asked. Vex replied, "To learn from those who stopped us, and to teach what we once hid." Laura nodded. "Then you are welcome here." Time passed. Unity Reach grew larger. More people came. More worlds joined the talks. A new fleet was formed, not for war, but for rescue and aid. It was led by officers from many species, including humans. The name of the fleet was the Light Guard. They flew to planets in need. They helped stop fires, earthquakes, and sickness. People no longer feared the sound of ships. They saw them as signs of hope. One evening, Laura sat with Daniel and Erica in the station garden. Stars shone above them. The garden was quiet, filled with soft lights and green trees. "We came here to end a war," Daniel said, "but we started something bigger." Erica smiled. "A new way of life." Laura looked at the stars. "Do you think we'll ever have to fight again?" Daniel shook his head. "Maybe, but not like before. Not if we keep building what we've started." A message came through on their data paths. A new world was asking to join the Coalition. A small world, once afraid of outsiders, now ready to open its doors. Laura read the message. "They say they were inspired by what they saw. By what humans did." Erica said softly, "That's the real victory." And it was. The real victory was not just ending the war. It was changing the future. It was showing that strength could be used for more than fighting. That ideas could be weapons. That peace could spread faster than fear. The humans had come late to the war, but they ended it in hours. And then they gave the galaxy something it had never truly known.